Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We're here to talk about Kyle Havertz. We're here to talk about Declan Rice. We're here to talk about everything Arsenal. And what's going on, Neomis?
I'm good. I'm very good, man. It's good to be back, man. Like what a season has this been. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
And first of all, how are you, man? How's things getting on with you?
It's doing good. Just about to finish the term in a couple of days, and then I got one more left, and then that's basically it. So I'm very happy that it's all done. Like it's been a very busy year and a half, and yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting back out in the work world again.
So when are you scheduled to come back to the UK? Because that's what I want to hear. I want to hear when we're going to meet up with you, man. There's so much to discuss.
So I don't know if I'm coming this part of this year. I might come probably early next year, just to catch up with everyone. But like right now, the end of the year, I know we'll be like pretty busy. But I'm hoping beginning of next year, which would be great, like January time. I think would be perfect. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's probably going to be when it is.
Excellent. On people in the chat, 18 says Neomis in the house. Yeah, man, Neomis is here. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Let me know what your thoughts are. We're about to talk about a lot of Arsenal transfer stuff here now. So listen, Kai Havertz signs. Let's get straight into this. Let's not even beat around the bush. Kai Havertz signs. So I think the stigma in the fan base, there's a lot of fans that are against this move. And I think now we're starting to see, the clouds are starting to dissipate. We're starting to see the wood through the trees now. And all of a sudden, it looks a little bit more clearer what he's going to do and how he's going to fit into the team. First of all, let me just get a rough understanding from yourself. What's your thoughts of the Havertz deal?
Okay, so like, when he was at Bayer Leverkusen, like he viewed it as like a top prospect, lots of potential. I even could see why Arteta would be interested in him if he was still at Bayer Leverkusen. Like really versatile, can play out on both wings, can play up front as a striker, can play as a number 10. But his performance at Chelsea, that's the problem. And then the price. And then on top of that, I feel like if you're bringing him in for the price that we're bringing him in on, I think it's 50 mil with like 10 million add-ons or 50 million add-ons. Like it's a lot of money to be bringing on, to be kind of focusing on someone he's not going to be on the bench. Like he will probably start all, if not most games. So the question is, who's going to suffer? Jesus? Probably, maybe Odegaard, like
nobody.
One of my favorites, Reece Nelson. No. Game time, someone's going to suffer. Come on, someone's going to suffer game time.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they are. I really don't think they are. And this is the thing. So first of all, he's been. Let's talk about Chelsea. He's been playing as a number 9 with Chelsea, and his goal scoring record is not great. He scored 7 goals last season. That's less than Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe came on as a substitute. Yeah. Came on as a substitute. Smith Rowe, as we know, he scored 10 goals in the first half of the season before. He didn't start a single game last season, so I'm only judging him on the season before. This guy scored 7 goals. And then the Champions League, when he scored the winning goal, he had only scored like 6 goals in the last 31 starts. Not great. And I think that's what Arsenal fans are looking at. That's what I certainly looked at. And the thing is, forwards in this day and age, they shouldn't be judged solemnly on how many goals they score. And we all saw Jesus go through that 10-game streak where he couldn't score. And what were Arsenal fans saying? He brings so much to the team. He does all this off the ball. He goes past defenders. He sets things up. And look, I'm guilty of it. Everybody said it's fine for a striker to go 10 games without scoring, which I had a big problem with it because Eddie started 9 games when Jesus got injured and scored in half of those games. So he had 4 goals. So, everybody thought that the wheels were going to fall off, that Arsenal was going to capitulate when Jesus got injured, and that wasn't the case, guys. And it wasn't just that, but which is what I talked about. You're not judged on scoring goals. Nketiah off the ball and link play was exceptional. It was very good. In order for him to fit into what we were doing, it was surprise. And me, I've only known him as a goal scorer. I've not known him as a link player. So even I was surprised at the level that he showed. And that's why I questioned Balogun. I'm like, Balogun can score goals, but if he's not scoring, what else is he doing? Sorry about that. If he's not scoring, what else is he doing? So for me, look, man, and I'm going to be fair. I'm going to defend Havertz here. He's earned a reputation of the big time player, a guy who can score in the big occasions. But a reliable goal scorer, that's not who he is. He's not suitable for playing at the number 9. And if he's allowed to kind of drop deeper, it's easy to see how he can be highly effective as a false 9. Now, that being said, answering your question, before he joined Chelsea and garnered that 65, 70 million fee, what position did he play?
Yeah, he
played the number 8. He was at 8, right? So when I looked at that and I thought, well, they're trying to get rid of Xhaka. The first thing for them to do is to get Declan Rice in and replace that Xhaka role. So he's coming in, guys, at a number 8.
No, I can't. No, really?
He's coming in. Yeah, he's coming in as not. They're not going to disrupt what Declan Rice is trying to do. They're not going to destabilize Gabriel Jesus. Jesus is their number 9, whether we like it or not.
Okay.
And he actually scored more goals after his injury. A lot of people were saying he weren't the same player, but he scored 5 goals before his injury and 6 goals after his injury. So he actually played better as a goal scorer after the injury in the last 2 months. So I don't think they're going to mess around with Jesus. But the position that's up for grabs is the number 8 role. And I think that this guy is going to play the same position as he did in Germany when he was worth 70 million. And I think that there he's going to thrive. Because when you look at the off-the-ball stuff, and I want to also, hold on, let me just grab this. I've got this big-ass picture of him, which I've got to get rid of here. So when we talk about the off-the-ball stuff, shout out to Tom Aston. Because Tom Aston was the guy who put this up on the forum. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Right, here we are. When we look at the off-the-ball stuff, he's impressive. He's impressive. So looking at the numbers...
I'm not disputing that. Like in terms, because I was also watching some stats on him. Like creativity wise, that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna give us that. Like everything that probably Odegaard can give you, work rate. Like I'm not disputing that. I'm a little bit taken back in terms of him being as an 8. I'm trying to imagine it because I think it's been a while since we've seen a player go from go back like that. Someone like I think everybody would see Havertz as a striker, maybe not a very good one, but he's a striker to go not even to the 10, but into central midfield. Yes. So I guess I'd have to see him. So it's one of these things where like I know I'm looking at it like let's. All right.
I mean, you answered the question. You answered the question. You said when he was in Germany. So I actually went back. I this week I watched three of his games in Germany before he signed for Chelsea, and he started at the number 8 in all those games, and he was impressive. And that was not the role he was asked to play by Chelsea. The number 8 role, I think for me, the hope is that those numbers that he's had over the last few years are better illustrated to his true potential as a finisher. I mean, look at Jesus, for example. I mean, Havertz always looks to provide an option for his teammates. You look at, if you look at some of these runs here, his numbers off the ball runs are absolutely impressive. Only Sung in Tottenham has had more runs than he has. He's ranked 3rd, only behind Ollie Watkins as well for attacking runs. So what this stat sheet is actually getting at is his movement. His movement is exceptional. And when Arteta, because remember, we're only looking at these stats now. Arteta would have known this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's true. Arteta would have studied this. He would have known it. He would have looked at this. Guy's always looking to provide an option for his teammates in the final third, and his willingness to run into those stress opposition places can be seen in his numbers and his off the ball runs. So for me, he sees the spaces where he needs to be, and when the spaces are closed, he quickly shuts it down and moves on to the next space. He's two-footed. I know Sky Sports was talking about he's left-footed. He's actually two-footed. So that means he can fill the roles on either side. But the other thing as well is he's had 10 headed goals. So his 6'3" frame offers a lot of height, a lot of aerial prowess, which Arsenal do not possess. So look, he's won 56% of his aerial duels last season. I don't know any Arsenal player that has won 20% of their duels, or even 10% of the aerial duels. We don't win duels in the air. That's why we keep the ball on the ground. You see what I'm saying? So I think when you look at that, only Alexander Mitrovic has had more headed duels won as a front player. Okay.
All right. But don't you think, like, with the players that we have, that we could... Like, again, this goes back to the price, right? Because for me, I actually would have put Zinchenko in the midfield next to a Declan Rice or next to Thomas Partey. For me, that was always the dream midfield when we first got Zinchenko, because I'm like, this is a guy who plays two ways, literally. But like, he can cover it, help in defense if need be, play in midfield. He can go for like what he does with Ukraine, and like he can give it all. Like, I thought like maybe we could go and sign like a left back, and then Zinchenko could come in midfield. Like, because it's like, why go and spend 60 mil when maybe we can get like a really good left back for maybe like 40, 50, and then like Taney will just be on the bench again. It's just.
It is, and I think, look, Arteta's had the whole of last season to study what didn't work, and we all knew that there were going to be wholesale changes in the midfield. And I think that this is what Arteta deems as what he wants moving forward. Let me just say hi to everybody. 18 says, Neomis in the house. G, big up to you. He says, I'm actually more positive of this signing than most fans here. However, Arsenal fans claiming Havertz style reminds them of Bergkamp need to stop. Only one Dennis Bergkamp. Yeah, I ain't even heard that, bro. So thanks for bringing that to the table. I've not heard that at all. And there's nobody I know, no Chelsea fan even talking about him in that regard. Cam says, Rice probably has to improve a lot more than Havertz. Maybe. But then Rice hasn't played with a team of exceptional players. Havertz has played at the top level, while I don't think Rice has ever played in a team that dominates possession like we do. Agreed. Facebook user, I'm not sure who this is. Shout out to you. He says, as long as a striker is bringing something to the team, ultimately goals aren't that important. I think that could be a case said for Jesus and a possible striker as well. Yeah, because there's goals everywhere. And this team broke a franchise record for goals scored. So yeah, maybe you're right in that assessment. Maybe we need to see more creativity, because as much as a lot of fans talked about how good Xhaka was, I thought that Xhaka did exceptionally well, but he's still limited in that role. And for me, and I've been saying it all season long, we can easily improve on Xhaka in that role, because he's not an attacking player. Xhaka isn't. And so the fact that Xhaka can get 7 goals and 7 assists in that position, the fact that on that side, Smith Rowe got 11 goals the season before, we can have somebody matching the totals that Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus are scoring. If we plug in somebody there, they'll get you double-digit goals. No doubt about it. I looked at Gundogan for Man City. The guy's 32. You know, he scored 30 goals for Man City. 30 goals in like 170 games. That's nuts. 30 goals. That's nuts. That's double what Xhaka scored in his career. Shout out to Aaron as well. I hope the family is good. He says, I agree with Apollo. So for me, I think the difference is, and you mentioned Zinchenko. We sort of more play a 3 at the back, a 2 in the midfield, and a 5 up top. That's what we play when we're in possession. I know it's a hybrid 4-3-3, or we can say a 4-2-3-1 or whatever. But that's only our base formation. When we defend, it's a different formation. But most of the times, Arsenal has possession, and when we have possession, we are a 3-2-5 team, which means 5 players up front. And so it looks a little bit like, I think. Let's get this up, Neomis.
Yeah, like the 3 centre backs.
Yeah.
And then Zinchenko goes into.
So in an ideal world, this is what I think Arteta's trying to go for. I think that Arteta's trying to go for a Gabriel Saliba White when defending. In the middle, a Rice and we could say a Partey, a Caicedo, a Zinchenko, or maybe Zinchenko further up where Havertz is, because that's the role that Xhaka was implying. But this is what I think he's looking at. This is where I think he wants to be. Because, first of all, you've got 3 strong defenders. And you've got one of the best tracking defenders on the long ball in the Premier League in Saliba. So anybody who tries to hoof the ball long against us, he's going to bat that out. Yeah? He's an air to surface missile. That's what Saliba is. He's a Patriot missile. He'll just knock out any dangers that comes over with the long ball. So you've got your front 5 players who Neomis, who are dominating possession, creating chances, running the channels, twisting defenses. But if they lose possession, then Rice and Caicedo or Partey or Zinchenko are there to clean it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you recycle. You recycle the play, move it out wide to Saka or Martinelli, and then the overlap, the inverted, the 1-2s, and everything else goes with it. That's what I believe he's trying to get to. What's your thoughts on that?
Looking at it like that, because if we're attacking, yes, because you could see Havertz being right next to Odegaard, behind the main striker, and that would kind of fit in not only with his Bayer Leverkusen experience, but also with his Chelsea experience as well. I guess it's one of them whereby, Arteta is just going to have to manage it properly and be tactical about it. But it's one of those whereby I just thought that we could still do that with the existing players that we have rather than going to buy. So, but I get it. If that's the model that he's looking at, I completely get that, because even though I haven't really seen that much of Zinchenko in terms of the final thirds, just because he hasn't really been allowed that at club level.
Yeah.
I'd probably say that maybe Havertz is probably better in that final third than him, and would give us something a little bit more unique, particularly with this just build. So yeah. But
and I agree with you. I think, I've got my little mouse arrow here. I think Zinchenko works best operating from transition in these spaces, and Havertz in the final third. So I don't totally 100% agree with you there. And I think that's the key to it. There's going to be a lot of problems that we have to deal with, which we're going to come on to later, and all that revolves around Thomas Partey. But I think, look, let's get rid of this. My overall assessment is I'm starting to warm up to this deal. Guys in the chat, let me know what your thoughts are in regards to Kai Havertz. Is it a thumbs up, thumbs down, deal or no deal? Where's your heart and your minds with this Kai Havertz deal? So Neomis, I think I've been shown the light on this one, and I just think it's just a lot of money. The most I would have paid for him was 50 million. So I think Chelsea's done us here. I think they've really done us. Unless something drastic happens where this guy starts to explode in this system, then I'll take it all back.
Yeah, I think for me, that's the only thing. Like, I'll take it back if it's like he comes out and just wreaks havoc on teams, whether it's goals and assists. If he does that, then it's like a brilliant move. And it almost doesn't even matter what the price is.
Yeah, I think I was somebody. It was Gary. It was Gary. Gary, sorry, I didn't realize that it was you, mate. I didn't realize it was you. Yeah, so basically, so long as a striker's been something, yeah. So that's what Gary's saying. Sorry, Gary, I didn't realize it was you. G saying he's being played out of position up front. His best position is playing behind the forwards, which is what me and Yomis are talking about. He's predominantly a number 8. And G says that's what made him one of the best talents in the world when he was 18, 19. He was being compared to Ballack when he was breaking through. And then Chelsea bought him and played him up front where they couldn't find a striker. So that's fair enough. And Aaron says, yeah, he's a baller. He definitely is. Diomis, I'm warming up to it. Help me out here, man.
I'll see. Listen, right? I'll see. The first game he plays, preseason game, that's when I'll be able to tell.
What's your biggest concern? That he'll take Jesus' position?
It's my biggest concern is that he's gonna need a lot of time and minutes. And when I look at the amount of minutes he plays for his production, it's like, wow, like he's playing well over 3,000 minutes, which means that he's playing most games and most of the time at 90 minutes. When I'm comparing to what like an Eddie Nketiah is doing, he's played like half the amount of minutes and given more production. And if you mix that with another player, it's like, you know, you could get almost the same results, but with the players that you have. But I think with what Arteta has done this past season, let's trust in him, and then let's see what it is 6 months down the line. Let's give Havertz some time and let's see how it goes. I think that's all I can do right now.
Yeah, Cam agrees with you. He totally agrees with you. Because we want to see this experiment work. As I said, Arteta's seen this. He's aware of what he's buying. It's a huge investment, Neomis.
Yeah.
It's a huge and look, he's 24 years old. So he's not even reached these peak years yet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot riding on this. You do not spend 65 million on a player like this and don't utilize them. So I think he's going to go back to that number 8 position, which is what made him famous. It is kind of what made him the player that he was. So let's talk about. I always say the elephant in the room. Let's discuss Declan Rice. This is this is not going to go well, guys. This discussion is not going to go well. So Declan Rice, guys. Let me change the banner. Yeah.
Please don't put up a Man City banner. No, Apollo, no.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to have to do this. Sorry, guys. Right, so let's get the negatives out the way first. So Man City are, and this is tomorrow. It's going to happen tomorrow. Man City are officially going to open up a bid for Declan Rice. That's all we know. As regards to the money, it's going to be exactly the same as what Arsenal offered, which is 90 million. The difference is the incentives are going to be paid over 2 years, whereas Arsenal's incentives was going to be paid over 5 years. So as far as West Ham and Man City are confirmed, I believe that they have a working contract, a deal, which suits both clubs. And I believe that West Ham would probably agree to that. That being said, the intangible to that is Declan Rice. I don't think, and look, he'd be happy if he went anywhere, but his preferred team, and his agent has said this, is Arsenal.
Yes.
Why is that? That's for a lot of reasons. Number one, because he wants to stay in London. That's the most important thing for him. He's said it time and time again. I want to stay in London. And this is the reason why Manchester United, who actually were interested in him, didn't put a bid in for him, because the feedback they got back from his agent was he doesn't want to leave London. So United stayed out of it. What has changed overnight is because Man City said they're going to be making a bid, Man United today said, oh, really? So that does that mean we can bid too? So apparently Manchester United are back into the race, because if he's going to leave London, United want in on that as well. They want in on the Rice game.
Unbelievable.
So number 2, where's he going to play in Manchester City? He can't play. You're not going to replace Rodri. He can't replace Rodri. You're not going to drop a Rodri for Declan Rice. You're just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And lessons are learnt because of Calvin Phillips, Neomis. England international, a lead star, 50 million. City bought him and he played 6 games last season. 6. So for Declan Rice, you go to Arsenal and you know you're going to play. You're either going to go in at the number 8 role, or Arsenal would sell Thomas Partey and then you're going to fit into that position. Either way, you know you're going to get game time. And number 3, obviously his relationship with Saka, which everyone's talking about. He loves the kid, man. Him and Saka are like a house on fire. That their relationship, move over Mason Mount. Man's best friend is now Saka. Yeah, Mason Mount may have grown up with him from when they were little kids, but dash that away now. Burn that friendship away, because Saka's the man that's dealing with all of that. So look, I think, and I talked to Colin today at the training ground. I think that Arsenal are in good stead because they have one more strike at this. They have one more shot at the carrot. And it doesn't even seem to be the money. It seems to be the way how the money is structured. Although the benefit is that West Ham can use this to just like Leeds did.
Yeah.
And various other teams, they use teams to play off each other, and then that means more money for West Ham. All West Ham want is to be paid handsomely for their captain. They don't want to lose him, but they just want to be compensated for losing their captain. So I think this goes into West Ham's favour, because having both teams bid 90 million, it's the team that comes in at 100 million that is going to go, bang, sold, done deal. Yeah. Neomis, before I go over to you, Aaron says Havertz was a great technical 10 who can also finish and rotate us a win. Totally agree. Philip, shout out to you, bro. Says greeting 101 brethrens. Philip says Basmati has gone to Manchester. Oh, right. Yeah. I heard about that. Aaron says we act small but not smart. And I think that's just because money is new to us, man. This is like a new thing. Arteta's new in the role. Richard Garlick is got some background, but the Tim Lewis, Edu's new in his role. I think that we're learning on the job. That's what I think this front office is doing. And there's an element as well, Aaron, that if you went in at 90, West Ham would have said 100. Or if you went in at 100 and said, let's do this, West Ham probably would have said, no, we said 120. So because they started low, there's more of a negotiation act. With every deal, there's a negotiation, right? So I think that Arsenal, I think 80 million was a bit too low. I think they should have gone in at 90. And, that would have been more respectful. Philip says, well, Arsenal could bid 90 million plus 10 million. And that would get the deal done, mate. That would get the deal done. That would be deal done, over the line. Let's lock this one up and send Man City home with their tails between their legs. He said, I'll be checking the bins outside the Emirates for updates. Shout out to Raul. Raul says Fabrizio and Ornstein are sleeping. No, man. I mean, those two are probably right now. The whole world is watching them, man. I think that those two are to be respected, man, because right now, them guys are, I normally hear stuff from the training ground at the same time that those guys are posting on social media. So they have inside sources. So does John Cross from the Mirror. Quite a few. Sam Dean also, he has a lot of from the Telegraph. A lot of these guys are well informed, man. They are well informed. Shout out to also James Benge as well. A lot of these guys, they know their stuff. Aaron says, I feel West Ham would have taken 100 million first pop. I think I'm not sure. because there's no negotiation there. And the thing about clubs is you offer them an inch and they want a mile.
Yeah.
You know, so look, Neomis, it's not good, but it's still in our favor. What's your thoughts on it? This is a horrible one, isn't it?
We just have to get this done. Like when I first heard we were rumored with Declan Rice, I said that it was never going to happen because West Ham would never sell him. And then as the season went on last season, it just got stronger and stronger. And I was like, great, because this is the type of player that you sign for 90 mil and he will be here for the rest of his career. Like the next 10 years, will retire at 34 at Arsenal. And that 90 million will be nothing. That will be 9 million per year for the rest. I remember when Liverpool signed Jordan Henderson for like 25 mil or 30 mil at the time. And back then, that was a lot of money. And this 90 million is nothing. Like for Declan Rice, like he can do it. And he can play in both midfield roles. As he get older, he'll probably get slower. He'll probably drift back into more of a centre-back. I heard Graham Souness said that he thought that he'd be a great centre-back. So, like, this is a guy that, like, we need to get. And we need to do it before Man City wake up and before Man United, because it's all just going to get silly now. It's all going to get where we're going to be in a bidding war, and it's going to be the highest person gets it. And West Ham are just going to sit back and relax. Especially if Declan Rice is serious that he doesn't mind joining anywhere, then, like, it's over. It's like, call them up right now and be like, listen, what do you want, 110 mil? We're going to give you 110 mil. Like, game over. Like, just end it now. Because I'm hearing that on Monday, like, tomorrow, like, that's it. Man City are putting in a bid. And that's that. We don't want Man City involved.
Yeah, I think for me, guys, we can't compete with Man City when it comes to money. We just can't. They're the second richest club behind Newcastle. And we can't, you can see from what happened with the Mudryk deal, we put 2 bids in for Mudryk, and Chelsea just came and blew our bid out of the water. And innately, they're not as rich as Stan Kroenke, but it's just that they've got different ethics. They've got no shame. And it wasn't what they did at the Mudryk deal, it's what they did afterward with Enzo and everything else, and they're just absolutely throwing anything on the wall and seeing what sticks. That's not how you manage a football club. And by the way, guys, Chelsea finished 12th. they spent 600 million and finished 12th. So that just goes to show you how the team is being managed right now from an owner perspective. So with Arsenal, look, I don't think that this should be another Mudryk deal where you walk away because you're being outclassed. He was your number 1 target, Neomis. Yeah. This was the guy who was your number 1 target when the transfer window began. And you should have had everything ready and prepared on day 1. In fact, McAllister's deal at Liverpool, which went for 35 million, was done before the window was even open. So why wasn't all of this sorted out in principle?
And Apollo, this is the thing with the Havertz deal, right? That I keep thinking, like we're right there spending 60 mil on Havertz, when if we could just take a 20 mil off the Havertz deal and put towards Declan Rice to get that, because for me, Declan Rice is it, like, and he's English, like I'm sorry to say this, but English players generally don't move abroad, and they tend not to move like within the league that much. So we need to get this one done. Like this is the one. Like all the other signings, I know you're going to talk about others. But we're not. No, we just need to get this one done.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to my man Nabil. Nabil, how are you, man? It's really, 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 really good to see you. A lot of people don't know this, but me and Nabil go way, way back. We're both from Wembley, grown up there, long time. I was very, very close to Nabil's sister. listen. We're like brothers from way back in the day. So
Yes,
it's really good to see. It's really good to see him right now. How are you doing, man? And let's talk some Arsenal, man.
How you doing, Dean? You good?
Yeah, good, man. Good.
You good? How you doing, Naomi? It's a long time no see.
Yeah, I know it's been a while, man. It's like I'm good. I'm good. What about yourself?
Yeah, I can't complain. I'm on the phone. I've never used the phone to do this before. Everything just looks so tiny. It just looks. I can barely see you guys, man. I can just see. All I can see is teeth.
So we were just talking about Man City coming in for Declan Rice, and the difference is obviously they're the second biggest, richer club in the world. If it came down to just money, we ain't winning this. But the intangibles here is the fact that he wants to stay in London, and there is actually a space for him to fit into the Arsenal team now that Xhaka is moving on. Whereas with Man City, we saw what happened with Phillips last season. Left Leeds, 50 million deal. City played 6 games for Man City. 6 games. And Calvin Phillips now, they're talking about he wants to leave just after 1 year. So if you're Declan Rice, I'm sorry, you're not going to start ahead of Rodri. You just ain't.
Yeah, but I think he might be. I mean, they say that he's not a swap, but a replacement for Gundogan, and that's why they went for him. But I'll tell you what it is with me and this whole saga, right? You can't tell which way it's going to go for sure. But for me, I just don't like the way Arsenal move when it comes to business like that. It's the same with Mudryk. I don't like the way they move when it comes to these types of deals. Like, we've had the noise all season. You've just had noise all season about this transfer. You know what West Ham want. They want 120. You don't really want to go over 100. Okay, you test the waters with your first bid. It gets rejected out of hand. When you come back, just come back and get the player. You know, it's 80 million plus 20 in add-ons, realistic add-ons. It would get wrapped up. I don't believe that West Ham would play games. I think it would get wrapped up. Because when you stall and you allow City to enter the equation, or you allow a Chelsea to enter the equation, let me tell you what they're going to do. Their thing is wages. Their thing is wages. If we are offering Declan Rice 200 grand a week and City come with 265 or 275, listen, it don't matter if he's got his flat in London or whatever. He's taking that. Because over the course of 4 years or 3 years, that is a lot of money. And I mean, yeah, I get it, footballing reasons and all of this, but these guys are human, bro. When you're giving someone 75 or 65 grand a week on top of what they're getting, it's hard to say no. It's very hard to say no.
Nabil? West Ham offered him 200 grand a week to stay, and he rejected it because he wanted to play in the Champions League. And all Arsenal did was say, "No problem, we'll give you what they offered you."
Yeah, I mean, 200. I mean, West Ham. Come on, let's face it. He's Declan Rice. He's got to move on. He's 24. He's moving on. If they offered him 250 a week or 220 a week, I'd expect him to move on because it's West Ham. He's going to want to play in the Champions League. He's going to want to be in a title race. You know, he's 24. He plays for England. He's a future captain. You know, West Ham's gone down, ain't they? Have West Ham gone down?
No.
Did West Ham get relegated?
No, they didn't. They didn't.
That was Leicester. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, well, at least he's still in the Premier League. But come on, he's not. He can't be playing for a bottom 3 team when he can play for a top 3 team. But the City interest, that's a problem. I mean, I'm just hoping that everybody's right and they're just, they've just stepped into the bidding war and it's going to push Arsenal to I don't know what it's going to be, 105, maybe 110. I don't think we'll go past 110. And if we walk out at 110, I accept that. But when you're flapping around with 75 plus 15 and unrealistic add-ons and spread out over 5 years, this is just stupid, man. Come on, you're at a big table here, man. What do you expect? That's always going to get rejected. They don't need that. It's not like they need. If someone came in for Pepe, Nicolas Pepe, and they said they're going to give us 15 million over 5 years, we'll bite your hand off because we just want to get rid of the player. But with Declan Rice, if we get rejected, City's going to step up, Chelsea will step up, Newcastle will step up, Man United will step up. It'd be a list of teams wanting to step up. So you can't be coming with installments over 5 years. Come on, get real.
Yeah, and I think, look, and I think the thing about this is what frustrates me is, as I said, the McAllister deal to Liverpool was sewn up before the window was even open. So if you were Arsenal and you knew Rice was your number one target, and look, I'll defend Arsenal a little bit here. Out of a gentleman's agreement, they told Sullivan, the owner, we won't approach you until the European final is over. So
Right.
there is that element to it. However, you can still talk to his agent. And in my opinion, if you have not got any of the intangibles sorted out on day one of the transfer window, why? This is
Yeah.
supposed to be your
Come
biggest
on.
target. How are you
Yeah.
signing Havertz first
Yeah.
over this guy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we
That's
don't
the
need
problem.
Havertz. We don't need Havertz. Yeah. Yeah. Come on.
You
That's
see,
what makes
so
me suspect. That's what makes me suspect about this deal because, like you said, you're treating Havertz with urgency, and he's just cover, or he's just another option. Whereas Rice is your number one target. You've been linked with him all summer. You know what West Ham want, and you know what will get the deal done. You're not going to give him 120 million, but you know on and around 100 will get the deal done. Why are you flapping around with silly little, ridiculous, embarrassing bids? You know, the first one, I'll accept it. You want to test the water, fine. But when you come back as a big club, you're supposed to get the player. Just walk away with him. None of this nonsense getting rejected twice. It's ridiculous.
yeah, I think Neomis, the issue here is you go well below on the first offer for Rice, and you go well below on the first offer for Havertz. My issue here is on the second bid for Havertz, you gave them the 65 they wanted. You just said, damn, that's what you asked for, that's what I'm giving you. But on the second bid with Declan Rice, who again is your number one target, let's not forget that, you lowball again.
Exactly.
Someone said in the chat, or might have been another chat that I was in, who said that Declan Rice was our number one target? Because the way how it all looks is that Havertz. Yeah, the way how it looks is that Havertz is our number one target.
Well, I think
look at the Bill's face. Bill's are confused because so am I.
Look, I said to you guys in the podcast chat, we have a messenger podcast chat. I've been told that we're after 5 players, and all they've got is 200 million. So that's not enough. So we know we know they're going to recuperate money. If you guys watch my video yesterday, which is on my channel, you would have heard me talking about lowballing Timber, Rice, and Havertz meant that they would have saved 60, 70 million, which then would have put them in for Casado or somebody else. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to work within a small fracture of cash flow. And that, you know, they've all sat down, Tim Lewis, Richard Garlick, Edu, they all sat round, Vinay, they all sat round and said, this is our budget. How are we going to get these 5 players? Because these 5 players are 300 million. And we're only working with this. So there's that element of selling players on and all of that stuff. But the danger here, guys, is, and again, this is something that fans don't see, is they know the numbers for FFP. They understand how much money Arsenal are making on a year-on-year basis, and they understand that how much we can spend. It's not how much money you have to spend, it's how much you're allowed to spend. And I think that that's what's causing all of this problem and this friction. And not a lot of fans, you won't go to a lot of YouTube channels and them talking about this. All you'll hear is fans say, you should have offered more, you should have done this, you should have done that. But there's actually a business element to the reason why they're trying to funnel this all in.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that as well, Apollo. That's an argument that's come up quite recently as well. People, I think it was Dean Paul who put it up in the group, right? But listen, you're Arsenal, right? And you're after Declan Rice, and you're in talks with West Ham. Come on, mate. You know what they want. If they want 100 mil or 110 mil for their players, and they're not prepared to take any more than 3 installments, just walk away. Go and get Latvia. Go and pursue other targets. Don't embarrass yourselves. You know, if you're trying to do Declan Rice on 5 installments, and that's why I feel that there's a lot of truth in the media talk, because when City say they're going to blow us out of the water, I'm thinking, well, what does that mean? They ain't going to just throw stupid money at it, but it's simply that. Like, you're coming with 5 installments on like what 90 million, 85 million, and then they're coming with 2 installments. They ain't even trying to look at you like West Ham ain't even that you're embarrassing yourself, mate. You ain't got the money, go away. You ain't got the FFP flexibility, go away. What you doing here? You can't compete. Just back off. You know what I mean? I mean, if you could, I mean, to be fair, I'd expect West Ham and Arsenal to agree on 3 installments. That's reasonable. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Two installments is, I'm not sure if we're going to have that. And again, to safeguard our other transfer targets, I don't mind walking away at that. But mate, come on, man, stop embarrassing yourself in public, man. If you can't flip in, sit at this table. If this table's a big man table, go somewhere else, man. Latvia's all right. There's that Brenner from, is it Everton? Is it Onan?
Yeah,
Onan. There's other targets out there.
Yeah, I think the other target which they're talking to now is Lavia from Southampton. So we will come on to him later on. But I think I hear a lot of stuff, man. I don't always post everything that I hear, but one of the things that I heard today is West Ham rejected the Calvin Phillips. It was going to be a Calvin Phillips and 60 million for Declan Rice, and West Ham said no. Which actually I think would have worked well for West Ham because remember, guys, West Ham have to buy Declan Rice's replacement as soon as the sale's done. So
I think they've got their eye on someone though. That's what it is.
Yeah, they have, and I'm not sure if it's Paulinho from Fulham because from what I hear, everybody said he was worth 40 million, and it looked like Fulham want 70. So everyone's playing the game. Everyone's playing the game. So look, so let's kind of close up on that and see where we are at the moment right now. Here's my issue. And look, I don't normally have a lot of issues because, I normally love the way we move and I love the way we spin. And I respect them for what they've done to build up the team. Because you have to remember, guys, when this proposal first came to Josh Kroenke, they were told it's a 3-year plan. In year 1 to 3, we're going to be making the Champions League. In year 4 to 5, we're going to win the league title or the Champions League. So mission accomplished. They have succeeded in getting to the Champions League. So realistically, what's happening is those guys are writing their own checks right now. The Tim Lewises, Richard Garlicks, the Edu, the Mikel Arteta. Right now, they are like a choir singing to Josh Kroenke. And Josh Kroenke is lapping it all up. He's loving it. So they have this level of power and trust. And so it's hard to kind of, we got the right to critique and question. Because remember, we can't see the full picture. So, but we got the right to understand the sense and sensibility. And what I'm asking you to here, I'll start with Neomis, is this midfield on the left a better midfield than what's on the right?
That's a tough question because I don't know what I don't know what Havertz can do I don't know how he's going to do in an Arsenal midfield when I didn't even see him at Chelsea really play in central midfield. But I guess if I'm looking at
remember, he played there in Germany. That's what made him a
in a number 8.
Yeah,
he played 8.
Yeah, he played an 8. So if I'm looking strictly on that, the left one is better than the right one. Because of the fact that one, I don't really rate Granit Xhaka, and I know he had one good season, and good for him. But it's Xhaka. Thomas Partey will be missed. I'd have loved to see him and Declan Rice in that Arsenal midfield. I just think we would have just absolutely just dominate. Like there was nothing would have gotten through our defense. Like to talk about the levels of possession. I wish we could keep him, but I understand why they are. I know that they want to go younger. And listen, chances are, if he's really going to Abu Dhabi, we'll probably end up getting close to the 40, 50 mil that we paid for him anyway. It's good. And obviously,
and remember, Xhaka be 31, Partey is 30, he'll be 31, Odegaard is 24 on the right, on the left, Odegaard 24. Rice 24, Havertz 24.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
you see, before you even ask me the question, my answer is quite simply, it ain't about which one is better. It's really about which one is built for the future. You're talking about that plan that we've got. That the left hand side is built for the plan. It's ready for the plan. You know, the midfield on the right hand side is better. If you're telling me I'm going to go into a game to win the Premier League or whatever, one game or whatever, I'm picking the team on the right all day long because Thomas Partey on his day, you know, along with Odegaard, the chemistry that's there. Granit Xhaka, I'm not really, you know, he on his day, especially after this season, if you just give me the best version of Xhaka that you had this season, I'm picking the right hand side all day long. There's no, I mean, I'm picking Partey over Rice, and I've not seen Havertz in the Premier League in a number 8, in the type of physicality of the Premier League in a number 8. I've got nothing to go on. But when you're talking about turning a new leaf, a new season, going into the season, I think it's risky, but I'll take it. I'll take that risk on that. Like you said, they're all 24 years old. I mean, come on, Granit Xhaka's 31, Thomas Partey's 30. It makes sense.
Yeah, there's some mad comments. Some mad comments at the moment now. Emerson, shout out to you, man. Big shout out to Emerson. G says, we've really let Man City walk all over us in every way this season. Absolute cockhole stuff. Not a shred of dignity or self-respect. And then he said, Grealish was 100 million and barely played in their first season. Man City don't care about price tags. I think this is the thing that I'm concerned about. So look, let me get rid of this. I think I've used the word concern about 4 times already this evening because I'm concerned. And here's the plan. This was supposed to be the plan, guys. We have a squad that we're building and building and building. And last season showed us how weak we were in Europe because we had problems rotating in the Europa League. So now you're in a Champions League, you literally have to have 2 players at every position. That's what you have to have. And I'm not talking about 2 players. I'm talking about 2 players of equal level at each position, right?
Yeah.
So I went into this summer and I talked to Nabil about this in the chat earlier on. I walked into this summer last week, guys, rubbing my hands, licking my lips, saying, boy, we're going to upgrade and we're going to get stronger in our depth at every position. Now I'm hearing this person's leaving. That person's no longer interested in staying here. And I'm thinking, hold on a second. Aren't we supposed to keep what works and build?
Exactly. See, that's the thing what I'm talking about. I thought Rice was going to be bought on top of Thomas Partey. Xhaka's leaving, fine. But I thought Rice was coming. To me, this ain't really strengthening. When you're seeing Partey go and Rice come in, I'm not sure about all that. I don't know what's next.
I think for me, all I can see, guys, and look, the summer transfer window is not open yet. But all I can see is if you lose Thomas Partey, and I cannot stress this enough, he is the bee's knees. What he brings to this team as the destroyer and the master transition, the master conductor, I don't see anyone else doing. There were times last season that I said, nobody, not even Rodri and Casemiro are playing at this level. He was compared to 2 of those players, by the way. But I don't see Man City trying to get rid of Rodri, especially for 40 million. And I certainly don't see Man United trying to get rid of Casemiro.
But you know what that is, though, then? You know what that is, then, don't you?
Well, a lot of people are saying it's because of, his wife and all of that stuff that happened.
It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be.
I mean, the fact that he's going...
Because remember, he's on bail till July next month, and I bet you any money there's word. It's not looking good. I bet you there's some word out there. Because when you're on bail till July, they can sort of say, you know what, we're not going to charge you. They could tell you that now. They could hear that last month. You know what I mean? If they're hanging on until July, I reckon it's coming from the top. I reckon they've managed to. They didn't let it disrupt the season, but they don't really want that kind of controversy, whether it's true or false. They don't want that sort of controversy, and it's kind of sticking. Like I said, he's still on bail. It's kind of sticking.
Yeah. Look, I'm not happy at the moment because to me, Look, in the business world, if you're standing still, you're falling behind. And I think here, by losing those core players and bringing in new players, all you're doing is you're tipping the scales, yeah, which means you're standing still. And I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to see it, guys. I've got my eyes wide open. I can't see it. I can't see the improvement yet, because when you're in the Champions League, look, let me give you something else. I'll paint a clearer picture for you, because there's a lot going on in my head at the moment. If you look at Manchester City, and if you look at Liverpool to an extent, when you're in the Champions League, even if you go to who scored, look at the games played. Manchester City, Gundogan, Mahrez, Foden, Kevin De Bruyne.
Foden sits on the flipping bench. Bloody hell. Come on.
They've started between 24 to 27 games per season. You know what that means, guys? That means for 10 games, not even 10 games, sorry. That means for 12 games, they're not starting in the Premier League. Yeah? If you look at someone like Declan Rice, people talk about how Xhaka is an Iron Man because he's played 36 games. Declan Rice played 37 games in the Premier League last season. He played more minutes. He played 100 more minutes than Xhaka. And in my opinion, you don't want your players to do that. If you look at the best teams, guys, they are not burning their players out. Gundogan started 24 games last season in the league, 13 games less than Xhaka, and scored more goals.
Oh gosh! In the same position.
In the same position, yeah. So when I see my issue is, we should be having two dominant players in each position, and so when you're getting rid of these players like Partey and all this stuff, I'm struggling with it, guys. I'm struggling.
Yeah, getting rid of Partey is going to be a big thing. I don't know.
Can't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from? How are we going to work the Champions League 2 games a week when we couldn't do it last season in the Europa League?
What do you say? You disagree, Neomis?
No. I don't disagree with you. That's what I was saying.
Oh, all right.
You know, this team isn't ready for 2 major impact games per week. We've seen that last season. We saw that the season before. They should have walked the Europa League last season.
Yes,
that's how good this team was. Yeah.
It comes down to that second 11. Like you said, you need 2 players per position. You need to have almost 2 starting 11s, and I think that the trust in that second 11, all them like whoever's behind Odegaard, who's behind Saka, when you look at them, I think that the manager doesn't truly trust them. Like,
tell me something. Sorry, go on.
No, that's it. That's it. I don't think he truly trusts them.
I was going to ask you guys, what do you think is going to happen? What's the most likely outcome here? Who do you think we are going to sign? Who are we going to end up with come transfer deadline day?
I think that the shock is not who we're going to sign. I think the shock is going to be who we're going to get rid of, and that's why I'm bringing up this.
Yeah,
issue.
But if we sign well, especially when you're talking about 5 players, who we get rid of. Well, then again, you're right, because I mean, we definitely look like we're getting rid of 5 players, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, people talking about Sal Balogun, we could be seeing Nketiah gone too.
What?
We could.
No.
Yeah.
Not both of them.
Yeah, I seriously think that we could be seeing both of them gone too. If you get a 40-50 million for Balogun, and you get 30 million, and there's teams out there, Brighton, Wolves, and West Ham were bleeding for Nketiah last season. If you offer them Nketiah now, they will bite your hand off. Because it's no longer a question whether Eddie is a Premier League striker. He is. The whole world knows it. So you're actually getting somebody who is more adaptive at the role than what you thought you were getting. So 30 million is a bargain for a 23-year-old player who's got a scoring record and can link play in the way he does. That is a freaking bargain. it makes me laugh when you see all these players like, going for Gakpo and all these players going for 40, 50 odd, and then you're talking about 30 million for Nketiah. Are you mad? All he does is score goals.
And that's exactly why, like, we shouldn't be selling him. We shouldn't sell Nketiah. Balogun, I could understand because he's coming at a bad time. It's like he's talented, and like if this was 3 years ago, where he is right now, he would get played like big time. But like, how are you going to be selling players that still have, in my opinion, like still have lots of room to grow? They just need games. Like, and I think if we was to manage the squad better, and if Arteta truly trusted a lot of those fringe players more, then I think a lot more of them would develop a lot quicker.
So who are we signing? That is the question.
Look, I still think the Caicedo deal is on, but yeah, I think there's still an option there. But I think the Lavia is definitely going to be a major deal. I think they're going to sign.
I think it's go on. Sorry.
So we're looking at Havertz, we're looking at Rice, we're looking at Timber at right back, we're looking at Lavia in the midfield, and then we'll have another player coming in. I'm not sure. It may be a centre back, but that's going to be your five.
I think it's just Havertz, Latvia, and Timber. I think it's been all smoke and mirrors all season. I mean, I'm still hopeful that the Rice deal is going to go through. I'm still very hopeful, but if Man City, I can't. It's just like when you're playing Man City for the Premier League. You're hopeful, but you've got to be realistic. If Man City go for Declan Rice, and they are putting a bid for, and Man City have said they're only going to bid if they're confident that the player will come.
Yeah.
So obviously his agent has given them indication that if the deal is approved, and the salary is met, he'll go. So how do you beat that?
Well, yeah, I mean, from what I've been told today, and I can only tell you what I've heard, is their attention would go straight to Caicedo then, because the Caicedo deal's not wrapped up with Chelsea. Chelsea are working on like 2 or 3 other deals. Chelsea are actually working on trying to meet FFP standards by end of next week, Friday. So they're trying to really generate a lot of money. They've got the Kai Havertz deal done. They've got the Mason Mount second bid going in tomorrow from United. That looks like it's going to get done. They've got the 3 players going away to Saudi Arabia. So I think they'll get within that 200 million mark, which they need to hit the FFP. But that's what's slowing down the Caicedo deal. So for me, if we lose Rice in the next 48 hours, don't be surprised if they go straight after Caicedo, because that solves your problem right there. And then you can spend money to groom Latvia. You can, but what this comment, I wanted to talk about this comment here. The Assemble says, don't worry, Jorginho can do Partey's job. This was something which was talked about last season quite a bit. And I do have to say, Jorginho is a quality player, an absolute quality player. But he can't do the job that Thomas Partey does. No. And
yeah, but I mean, oh my God. It's this thing. Look, these players are getting on. You're saying goodbye to Jorginho. You're saying goodbye to Xhaka. You're saying goodbye to Thomas Partey. And who are you signing?
Yeah.
When you're getting rid of them 3 players, my thoughts was you're getting Caicedo, you're getting Declan Rice, and maybe someone just a little like a Latvia or someone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because to be fair, when Jorginho on his days, quality. Same with Partey on his days, quality. Same with Jack on his day. They may be getting on, but on their day, they are quality. You're getting rid of them, and you ain't even secured 1 replacement.
Yeah, and I think that's why we haven't heard of those outlets yet. Like the Xhaka agreement was done 2 weeks ago. He ain't left town yet. They don't want to be in a situation where they lose out Caicedo to Chelsea, they lose Rice to Man City, and then they're left with nothing. And then someone might come in for Latvia, like Man United might come in for Latvia. Yeah. So they don't want to be in a position where they have lost everything, and then you sold Xhaka. Which, remember, they did this with Maitland-Niles. They left themselves so bare And then everybody was like, well, if you were struggling in the middle of the park and at right back, why did you get rid of Maitland-Niles? So I think they're listening and they're trying to understand that we got to play Django here. If you're taking a piece out, you've got to put another piece in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But listen, I've got to shoot off though. I've got to go and sort out my son.
No problem, Nabil. It was great having you. It was really, really good having you. Hopefully we'll catch up and we'll probably do this next week. We'll get together next week and see how this pans out.
Yeah. Let's hopefully on some better terms.
Agreed, man. Peace, brother. Peace,
All
brother,
right.
man. Good to see you.
Peace. All right.
Nice one. All right, guys. Let's hear what you guys are saying. Deuce Vlogs says Arsenal show too much interest if they had another alternative. I mean, there's loads of alternatives out there. The problem is are they good enough? And this is the reason why I come back to saying Thomas Partey was unplayable. For 75, 80% of the season, he was being mentioned in the same reign as Rodri and Casemiro. And in my opinion, he was probably better than them two because of the fact that he got Arsenal to where they were, which is on top of the league. And then he had a real down. Apparently, it was an injury. People talking about downturn in his performance in the last 6 games, but it was an injury. It was the injury he picked up against City. But then you go from the best defensive midfielder in the league. Any other alternative is not going to be good enough. It's just not. Can you talk about Caicedo and Lavia in the same breath as Casemiro and Rodri? No, you can't. You can't talk about those players in the same breath as those 2 players from United and City. You can't. But you can talk about Thomas Partey in that way. So this is my whole thing about, are you improving your squad for this summer? Losing Partey to me is a downgrade. It's a downgrade. And I think that it then takes away the plan of playing Declan Rice in that 8 position. He'll more likely move into Thomas Partey's position, which is fine. It's apples for apples. You're not losing nothing there. But then that means that Havertz fits into that number 8 role, which is where he played in Germany, which is what made him worth 70 million in the first place. So it seems like no sort of square pegs and round holes, if that makes sense. That Arteta could be finding a system that fits them all in.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Neon Miss, your thoughts?
I wouldn't mind Caicedo, to be honest. And I think that...
Let me just get a drink. Go on.
Okay. Listen, when it comes to doing like alternatives, like for me, I don't mind the alternatives, but I just feel like Arsenal need to go and focus on getting the players that we all have seen out in the media that are our main targets. Declan Rice, has to be done as far as I'm concerned. I think Caicedo's decent, but I think that Declan Rice would give us more long-term. But how the situation is looking right now is that we're probably going to have to go and settle for those alternatives. And I'm just hoping that doesn't be the case. And I'm trying to stay positive because even though we have seen that how it might be going is that players are leaving and that there might not be the same level of replacements, I'm just hoping that they won't go that route, or else it's just going to be the same old argument. And I see the guy that assembled said it clearly. It's
brilliant comment.
Arsene Wenger was criticized about selling your best players and then replacing them either with younger players or players that are just not quite as good. And that's a situation that we shouldn't find ourselves in. I mean, because even though I think next season, and I know I say every season, is that it's going to be harder, but we finished second last season, let's go on and let's just go just a little bit over the line. anything could happen. You know, I never thought Karim Benzema would leave Real Madrid and then go to the Middle East. And I always said
money.
that.
Yeah.
But Apollo, I always said that when Benzema leaves, what's his name? Haaland's going to be going. And I wouldn't be surprised if, as this window goes, that Haaland doesn't wind up at Real Madrid, especially if they offer stupid money for him. If they offer 200 mil to City for him, like, I mean, it's not like Man City will go up and buy someone. Like, yeah, for sure. But, like, anything can happen. And if Man City lose Haaland, like, we are so in there. But we have to build off of what we did last season. So, that's the tough one.
This is D. Big shout out to D Miller as well. D says Balogun and Eddie can't both be sold off. No way. We then go into the season with one recognizable striker who is, you remember you have Havertz can play there, Trossard can play there, Martinelli can play there. That's probably how they'll look at it. But I do agree with you, though. I would not sell Eddie. Not a chance. No way. Not happening. You have an investment there in Balogun, and you also have demands in Balogun. Like Balogun saying, I'm not going to go out on loan. I've got 2 years left, so I'm not going to sign another deal. So you either play me or sell me. And he's worth 40 million. So you've got that to contend with. And in a market that is out there right now, a 20-year-old Balogun should be worth 50, 60 million. If you were buying a Balogun from Ajax, how much you think that they'll sell him for? They wouldn't sell it for 40 million.
Yeah.
They wouldn't sell it for that. So I think Arsenal always undervalue their players. When we sell players, we almost give the best deals to other teams. But when we buy players, it's we're getting stung on the other side of it. Emerson says Balogun and Nketiah both have the same agent, and if we do not sign, so does Latvia, the same agent as Latvia. If we do not sign Rice or Caicedo, then it would be another unknown signing. And if you notice, Man City are offloading players on the cheap, the same as Chelsea. Man City are fine for FFP. Chelsea definitely isn't. So they've got that to contend with, and that's the reason why Caicedo is not a Chelsea player today. He's not a Chelsea player because in order for them to calculate their earnings against the books, they can only sign him on the 1st of July because that's when the next year finances then kick in. D says, I'm confident that if we pay the price, West Ham will, obviously, because Arsenal's his preferred team and he wants to stay in London and he'll fit right on in. I reckon now 100% if Rice signs in the next few days, Partey will be gone next week. That's what I think will happen. And it would be a damn shame. It says Arsenal, he'll definitely be rather come and play games at Arsenal than be a bit part player at City. Agreed. But if we continue to ask about them, we lose out 100%. D is saying again, Partey leaving will be detrimental to our squad. I can't emphasize how much. A lot. A lot. Listen, if you don't have Thomas Partey on that team last year, you don't even make top 4. Forget challenging for the title. You ain't even making top 4 if Thomas Partey's not in that team. Emerson says transfers will be done by the 30th as they start preseason. Yep, that's the hope. The Assemble said, I've got a strong suspicion that Arsenal are going to lose one of their vital players in the last week of the season. Xhaka, I don't believe he's going to leave. Well, they're not going to let him go until they've got the players that they want. That much I think is fair. Otherwise, he would have gone last week. Kurt, big shout out to you. Kurt says, I see Smith Rowe scored today for England and the 21s. I didn't watch the game, bro. I was out swimming. I just came back after swimming to join the stream. So I'm going to check that out as soon as the stream finishes. So there's not really much to talk about Latvia. Let's put Timber in there as well. So what do we know in regards to what's going on with Timber? The Timber deal seems to have been taken in acceleration today because initially Arsenal made a £30 offer and it was rejected. what it looks like today, guys, is that Arsenal's made another offer. It's undisclosed. I don't know what it is. And it seems that they've accepted the offer. And the players definitely talked about him wanting to come to Arsenal. So by all accounts, this deal looks like it's going to go through maybe within 48, 72 hours, because obviously right now we're waiting for paperwork to tie up. But the Timber deal looks like it's done. And he's a really good player, guys. He's a really good player. Latvia, we all know where he is, but he's 19 years old. I don't think he's ready to replace a Thomas Partey or anything like that. I think he'd be good for a squad player, but I don't think that he'll be... You're not going to try and win the league with a 19-year-old Latvia, considering what Partey did last season. I just don't think that he's that good yet. Niamis, what's your thoughts?
I think the Latvia deal, I think that's a good one. I think that as long as it's not going anything over like 25 mil, I think that's a nice deal. Like, he's one for the future. He's, like you said, he's probably going to be a squad player. And I don't expect him to kind of replace anyone. I just think he's there more just as a squad player to provide supplement for a Declan Rice if he comes in, for a Thomas Partey if he stays, and that's kind of it. And that's how I see him. Timber, he's a centre back, right? Timber,
he's a right back.
Right back.
Yeah.
I've heard stories that financial wise, this could get out of control. That's probably the only issue. But I think with this, we should just take the lessons that we're kind of learning with Declan Rice, get it over the line and sign it quick. It sounds like he's a really good player. I haven't seen much of him apart from some stats, so it's more like he looks like a good player. And we do need more defenders.
I've seen him play a couple of games. Yeah, I've seen him play a couple of games, and what he does is he's got great vision. He tracks the ball really, really well in the air. So the long ball's coming over, he's another Patriot missile. When balls are being played along the flank and to the wing, he's got quickness where he can jump in front of the ball and intercept it and tackle that way. So he's really bright, he's really quick, he's got great vision, he's got good pace, he's got a very intelligent way of understanding the game. He's a really good player. He's really, really good. He's that right back level where you see Maitland-Niles was. When Maitland-Niles was playing right back, he never had a bad game for Arsenal. We were giving him 7 out of 10s every single game because he was solid, good tackler, tracked the ball well, very intelligent. What I haven't seen from him is how well he gets up the field and supports the strikers. I didn't really see a lot of that. And maybe, he's young. Also, maybe Arsenal, Arteta would coach that in him. Maybe there's a level of coaching that he needs to have. But he's a really, really good talent. And he's ready now. Yeah, he can come in and play right back for us and take the load off Ben White and look really good doing it. So the Assembled has said, what realistic targets do you believe will sign? As I said, obviously Havertz, Declan Rice, Lavia, and Timber, I definitely see as 4 out of the 5 targets. I'm not sure who the 5th target would be. It might be a winger or centre-back. If they sell Rob Holding this season, which I'm not sure if they would do, I don't think Rob Holding wants to leave. And then another thing with Tomiyasu coming back, Rob Holding sort of is our 4th, 5th centre-back. And Rob Holding does well when he comes off the bench and we're going to a 5-man back defending a draw or whatever, or a goal, he's done well in those situations. So I don't think we'll see a Rob Holding being sold this year. So we may look at then another wingman, probably a right winger, somebody to help Nelson and Saka on that right-hand side. So that's possibly who your 5th guy would be.
Do you think it'll go for somebody more experienced, like how we got Trossard? Because for me, I think that's the one thing what gives Trossard his advantage is that he's experienced and he's productive.
Yeah, I do think that they'll go somebody. I mean, word was talking about them having another bite at Rafinha again, but I think they'll definitely, what I heard today, I didn't even post it in the forum. I heard that they were after Harvey Barnes from Leicester. They made an inquiry about him. So it could be anything in that regard as to, because remember, look, Fabio Vieira, we paid 36 million for him. He can play on the right, he can play at the 10, he can play at the 8. So there's things they can do. But they weren't doing it last season. Like we had Nelson, who could have come on for Saka, and he didn't make the changes. Saka played 37 games for Arsenal last year. 37 games.
And it's playing international football. Yeah. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, so, and then Assemble says, why don't Arsenal go for Latvia, former City Pro? I mean, they've made an inquiry. There's no bids. They made an inquiry. Southampton said they want 40 million for the player, and Arsenal so far haven't gone back in to communicate with them. So I think he's definitely on their radar. And look, guys, I talk about this all the time. When I am told that Arsenal have inquired about a player, they don't always go in for those players. I mean, take, for instance, from what I'm aware now, we've made 12 inquiries within a week. 12.
Wow.
So sometimes you just want to know if the player is for sale, what's the availability? If you were selling him, what would be the price? So I think Arsenal, and that's the way how you got to do business, guys. You got to look at your first option, your second option. We missed out on Mudryk. What did we do? We went and got Trossard. We missed out on Caicedo, and then what did we do? We got Jorginho. So a lot of the inquiries that you hear about, and most of them fans don't hear about it, but the inquiries that we hear about are just that. They're just inquiries. And if you get your first options, then you never really will need your second options. So what that means is if you buy a Rice, you may not buy a Latvia, because Latvia may be just your backup plan. I'm not sure whether he will. I think that they want to groom him, but 40 million is a lot to play for grooming a 19-year-old. It's a bit too much. If you look at what they did with Sambi, look at what they did with Tavares. Both of those players should be on their way out this summer. But you're talking about 7 million, 18 million, that kind of money. And that's okay. That's fine. You can grow a team with those kind of figures. Emerson said, Timber will sign for us. Remember another Arsenal ex-personnel that was dealing with the transfers before Edu took over, and it was the same person that worked with Arsenal. And Assemble says, do you believe the squad will be balanced with the additions you mentioned? I think it would be balanced. Do I think it would be strong? No. Not on the evidence that I see now. Simply because, as I said, you want to take last year's team that chased City all the way for the title and build on that strength. It seems that strength that we're losing the foundation in the middle of the park. I'm not the biggest Xhaka fan. You guys know, he played really well last year. At times, Xhaka really put in a shift. 7 goals, 7 assists. Don't knock it. He turned up. But the fact that him and Partey had those type of seasons, and you're bringing other players in, great. But then hold that foundation. Keep what works and add to it. Add the excellence to it. Which is what we did the year before, didn't we, guys? Yeah, we nearly got top 4. We had the youngest team in the league. It was all the young guns. So you kept your core, didn't you? And then you added a Zinchenko, you added a Jesus, you added a Trossard, a Jorginho. You added all this experience. And then it really gave the team a charge. And that's what you need to do this summer. And I don't see that that's going to be the case. What I can see is, a Jorginho wants to leave, a Xhaka wants to leave, a Partey wants to leave. So already you're kind of losing some core players, which will send you back to square one. Because not only if a Declan Rice comes in, as a Lavia comes in, great, but you're still going to need another couple of more players. You're going to need a Caicedo as well to go with that. And then there's the question of what's the balance going to be right? Will they adapt to the system as well as the other guys did? Because remember, Xhaka, Partey, and Jorginho, all veteran players. You don't have to teach them nothing. All the manager's got to say, this is the system we're running. That's how we're going to run it. Okay, boss, leave the rest to me. That's what Jorginho did. Jorginho's like, I understand, boss, leave it with me. But with a Latvia, with a Casado, with those kind of younger players, you got to go through the whole cycle of coaching, and we know how that works. Odegaard was raw, Martinelli was raw, and Arteta's just built them up. Saka year on year incrementally has looked great and improved his game, and that's all thanks to Arteta. So, Neomis, like I said, Neomis, the scales needs to go improving against disimproving. They can't be balanced. You can't go in with a balanced scale. It don't work.
The thing is, in order for us to look like we're improving, like you need Havertz to do, like, to be the player that he was at Leverkusen, and that's the thing. That's why for that one, that's a big question mark. If we have to bring in, for me, Declan Rice, because I actually think him and Thomas Partey could be on the same level. So that's why I'm not too worried about that. The problem that I have is that we could have both of those players at the same time. Like that's the problem, is that because that's what I thought we were going to get. I'm like, that's a boss midfield.
Because you can rotate them. And you could do what City does, which is start them in 24 to 26 games per season.
Yeah.
That's the key.
So that's what the biggest thing. But I get it. They want to go young. They want resale value. Like I get that. So it's like right now I'm not too negative, but we'll have to see how the next week turns out. But for me, you have to bring in Declan Rice. That's for me, that's the one. And then you just got to hope that Havertz, if he really is coming for the 8, that we see by Leverkusen Havertz. Because if we do, then things will look really good, really nice.
Yeah. Let's go to the assembled. He says the problem with that model is that Arsenal use, take away and add someone's substandard, and this seems to be the Emirates model. That's my fear. The fact that you're getting rid of all these guys who was battling for the title, and then you change them with players and you don't get the same impact. To me, how you doing? Shout out to you. So Declan Rice is coming to Arsenal over City. That's what it looks like. We've got first bite of the cherry. The difference there is if we pick the cherry and we don't bite it, yeah, and we just put the cherry down on the table for someone to go and teeth. That's what our problem is. We got to maximize and utilize this one chance. If you look at the video on my channel yesterday, I said we had 2 strikes. In baseball, you only get 3. And then after that, you striked out. And we got 1 more strike left, and we have to make that deal work. I gave the transfer news on this video right here. I talked about, obviously, Havertz is bagged, and that's a great deal. Rice, we've got 1 more bite of the cherry, and we know he prefers Arsenal because he wants to stay in London. He's really good friends with Saka, and he doesn't want to move. If you go to Arsenal, you don't have to change your house, change your environment, all of that stuff. It's a very simple transition. There's a position for you open to play, because if you go to Man City and do what Calvin Phillips did, he started 6 games last season, then you're just going to find yourself sitting on the bench being a bit part player. And look, they paid 100 million for Jack Grealish to do the same thing. And they feel no way in paying 100 million for Rice to do exactly the same thing. And he knows it. So I think in that respect, Arsenal is the more attractive offering, which gives you your cake and have you eat it too. The Latvia, we've inquired about Latvia. He's a backup option. He is willing to want to come to Arsenal, but we haven't gone back in with a bid. Timber, We've gone back in with a separate second bid. It's undisclosed, so I don't know what it is. It has been accepted by Ajax, and the player says he wants to move to Arsenal. So what's happening now is personal terms are being discussed. So we'll know more about that tomorrow. But it looks like that Timber will be an Arsenal player. So, yeah, so really, that's it. In my opinion, the interest with Caicedo is still there. If the Rice deal breaks down, Arsenal will pounce on that because Chelsea cannot complete a Caicedo deal for at least another week until the FFP problems are over. But at the moment, Chelsea have been the team that have been the most talkative with Caicedo. And yeah, and he's interested. Obviously, his first choice was Arsenal because Arsenal were the team that first came out for him. But remember, in that way, Chelsea bidded 55 million and it was rejected before Arsenal's bid for 70 million went in for Brighton. Actually, it was 60 million, but then the second bid was 70. So Chelsea have always had an interest in, because they knew Kante was going and they want to replace Kante and they see him as Kante's replacement. So look, I think if Arsenal lose Partey, then they have to buy Caicedo and Rice. They got to get two of them.
You know, that's not going to happen. Apollo, I wish that could be the case. That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah. So shout out to you, Tamina. Subscribe to the channel, and looking forward to seeing you later on throughout the season. As Simple says, Arsenal broke up the Invincibles too quickly, and we never recovered from that era. The excuse was the stadium. What's the excuse now? If there was an excuse, I don't think there is. I think there's a lot of underlying issues with the team. Take, for instance, Xhaka filled in that number 8 role, but he ain't really a number 8. We all know that. He's going to be 31. Partey's playing too many games. Bringing in a Declan Rice and bringing in a Caicedo or Lavia would really help a Thomas Partey, because then you can turn around to Thomas Partey and say, bro, you only got to start 25 games for us this season, which is what Rodri and Gundogan does at Man City. Yeah, that's how they look after them players. Could you imagine a 32-year-old Gundogan playing 37, 36 games a season? They would brock him up.
Yeah.
he would get mashed up, and that's the reason why Thomas Partey is not lasting. He's not sufficient with his fitness because Arsenal don't have the squad. They lack the manpower, and Thomas Partey breaks. Saka is breaking. Saka talked about carrying an injury for a couple of weeks. That's not good. Smith Rowe's breaking. We're breaking players. If you're overplaying players too much time and you can't rotate them, and you don't have the players to, or you refuse to, you're going to break your team. And that's what Arteta's been doing. He's been breaking his team. So you need to have the quality players in there to supplement a challenge for the title, and you're playing the Champions League. So, yeah, man. Yeah, Timber's joining Arsenal. That's it. That's going to be a done deal soon. What's this? Any right back we have been linked to it. Well, Timber can play right back. He can play right back. So, you know, that's going to be a quality move there. She says, Declan Rice wants to stay in London. He promised Arteta. Yeah, and that's why we've got first bite of the cherry. But if we lose that, you know, then it's gone. Any more from you, Leon, before we shut it down?
The only thing that I've seen is that I got a notification on my phone that 7 hours ago that Crystal Palace are very interested in Eddie Nketiah, or is on the verge of signing, which again puts a very somber note, because I remember when I first saw Eddie debut, I was in the stadium and absolutely crushed it. So to see him
2-0 against Norwich.
Yeah, I remember cheering. I was like, who is this Eddie Nketiah guy? Chuba Akpom was the guy. I was like, oh yeah, come on, Chuba will do something. And Eddie comes out of nowhere with a brace on his debut.
Eddie's my guy, man. Everybody on this channel knows that I'm a big Eddie Nketiah fan, and I just love the player, and I love his development. I like how he's more of a player than he was the last season. He's growing and growing and growing and growing, and his biggest moment just came when Jesus had that injury, And he turned around and he just said, "I got this, guys. I got this." And he was excellent for us, man. And I never forget the Man United game. My two favorite games this season was the Man United 3-2 win, Nketiah with the 91-minute winner, and the Bournemouth game, Reece Nelson with the 97th minute winner. Those were the two standouts for me, guys. And yeah, man, I love my academy players. What can I say? I love the little pitney them that grow up from boys to men. I love them, man. It's impressive. And I love the fact that we honor our players like that. So I'd be gutted if he left. Emerson, yeah, we love you guys, man. We're here because of you, you know. We're here because of you, man. So listen, appreciate the love. I appreciate the time, Neomis. I hope that we can do this next week. We'll have a look and see how this pans out. As always, give me the time when you're available, and then we'll jump on, and then we'll talk transfers again. For the rest of you guys in the chat, I'll still make the videos. It might not be daily. It might be every 2 days. That's because sometimes the news doesn't work as fast as it normally would. If you're making videos every day, you're just really repeating the same stuff you're talking about. So I tend to drop a video every 2 days about transfers and try to make it more impactful. But yeah, guys, I appreciate that, man. So peace and love, everybody. Let's get this deal done. Yeah. Let's get Declan Rice over the hill, and then we can come back and celebrate it, man.
Yeah, I
Cheers.
hope so.
Thanks a lot, Neomis, man. Appreciate that.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, guys.